Hey, hockey world, what's happening? It's Jeremy Roenick. Welcome to another edition of Snipes and Stripes right here on nofilter.net. Really excited for a couple of reasons. Number one, to bring on my partner in crime, Mr. Tim Peel, one of the best referees in the history of the game. I don't care what anybody says. Doesn't care what anybody says. Peelsy, good to see you again this week. We had a crazy night of hockey last night. All 32 teams were in action. We're going to get to as many topics as we possibly can. For all you guys that are joining us, that are watching on nofilter.net, I want to say this week's show sponsored by my whiskey. Again, Whiskey in the Wild. I am always drinking it during the show. It makes me feel good. Also puts a little buzz in my brain, so it allows me to say some things that you people like to listen to. So I love that. So Peelsy, I know you got something excited to bring everybody to.
Sounds good, JR. Thank you. We've got the World Series starting this Friday with Arizona and Texas. Get the latest game odds, spreads, and totals for the NFL and college football and MLB at your fingertips. And with BetOnline's real-time updates on stats, news, and odds, and the NHL, of course. We have everything you need to stay up to speed on each game throughout the series. Head to the website to use our mobile device to get in on the action. Don't forget to use promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet Online, where the game starts. Thank you to Bet Online for being a sponsor.
Bet Online is not a bad thing to be having on our show, especially when baseball World Series is starting and my Arizona Diamondbacks are in the final. I love it. I can't believe it. They've defied all the odds. A wild card team that is now playing for the World Series. And again, we thank you for all of our sponsors for believing in us, because we think that our podcast is the most informative, the most fun, and sometimes the most controversial right here on Snipes and Stripes. And we're going to go right into it because it was 32 teams last night, 16 games. And I kind of want to start with the Buffalo Sabres because Monday was very quiet. It was very quiet as hockey goes. And the only game that was Monday was Buffalo at home versus the Montreal Canadiens. And I know Joe, our producer, is listening, and I know he loved the game that Montreal beat Buffalo, but this is what I want to know. Where in the hell was Buffalo's head? Where was their effort? Where was their intensity? Here's a team that started off the season poorly. And Timmy, I think you would agree with me that Buffalo has not started off very well this season when a lot of expectations were a little bit higher for them. Would you agree with me on that one?
100%.
So now you're the only team in the National Hockey League playing. You're at home. You slept in your own bed. You got a good night's rest. You have Montreal that's coming into your own building. And granted, Montreal is a good team, but they're not, I would think, one of the upper echelon teams, a team that we would think Buffalo should handle. And they don't even show up. They don't even come to play in their own building and beat a team and get some momentum, knowing that the next day they're going into a tougher place to play against a tougher team in the Ottawa Senators. And Buffalo just absolutely stunk up the place in front of their own fans. And I want to know, what are they thinking? Like, where is the desire to win? Where is the passion? Where is the pride and how angry you have to be to start the season the way they do and not take it out on Montreal at home and get going and get ready for Tuesday? Where was it?
You know what, JR? I think the biggest issue when I look up and down that lineup, we've got tremendous D with Owen Power and Rasmus Dahlin. Up front, Tage Thompson. Skinner's off to a good start. I think he's got 7 goals. I look at Kyle Okposo is a phenomenal guy. Guy. I love him as a person. They've kept him on. I think he's 38 now, as in a leadership role. I don't know if they have the leadership at the top to get these young guys fired up.
But Peelsy, why do you need leadership? Like every single player in that locker room should be pissed off at the way that they've started the season. And every single player, you're a professional, you get paid a lot of money. Like how do they go into that game as lackluster and unprepared to play a game and play such a piss poor game when they're the only game in town. And like I said, where's the sense of urgency? Where's the passion? Now, that being said, they come into last night's game the next day, and they go into Ottawa, a better team, and they had to travel, and they didn't get as much sleep, and they pretty much ran Ottawa out of their own building. I mean, they just thumped them. It was a closer game at the end because Ottawa got a couple goals, but Buffalo was the complete opposite. So what makes them play like that on Tuesday and show passion and show like they care when the night before they didn't? Does that not frustrate you as much as it frustrates me?
Absolutely. But I think that that's the game today. I don't think, for example, I live in St. Louis and Kairu's not up. He's got 1 point in 7 games. He's done nothing. I don't think they take it to heart. I don't think these young guys that have these big contracts take it to heart like you did, and players.
Are they just too comfortable? Are they just too comfortable? They make so much money. They come to the rink. Do they not? Like, I would be sitting in my house or in my car seething. Yeah. I couldn't wait to get on the ice to inflict some pain, to hit somebody hard, to score a goal, to get a win, and bust my ass on the ice, knowing that I have 20,000 fans and some of the most passionate fans in all of hockey that are sitting here depressed at the way we're starting the season. But they come out against Montreal and actually throw up an egg. It drives me crazy. The lack of passion and the lack of preparation sometimes that I see in these kids, it makes me want to scream. And I'm trying not to scream, even though I'm not doing a very good job of it. And I think you made mention of somebody who did scream at his team, which I love, which I want to see more of, in Zadorov with Calgary.
Exactly. I've always loved that guy. I know he's not a top 4 defenseman, but this guy, big Russian guy, strong, can hit, can shoot. He made a comment in Canada, of course, and that was obviously going to garnish a lot of headlines. And he said, I don't think my team, we're not playing with any heart and character. And I heard a lot of his teammates didn't like it, but I looked
they didn't like it. You hurt my feelings. Don't call me out in front of everybody.
Yeah, poor Nazem Kadri, who's getting $7.5-8 million a year, and he's got 1 point. He's probably upset that Big Z called him out. And I think we need more of that in this league. But to your point, they get too comfortable, and they've got the best trainers, they've got the best cooks, they've got charter best planes. They stay at Ritz-Carltons. They don't have a worry in the world. I think they're just spoiled.
But the pride has got to come in. And I love what Zadorov did. I love the fact that someone stood in front of a camera or stood in front of a media person and called out his players. And you know what? If I'm Zadorov, I don't give a crap what my teammates think, because they deserve it. And you know what? So what if you're soft? So what if I hurt your feelings? We're not here to protect feelings. We're here to win hockey games. And we're here to give the fans that pay their hard-earned money a good show and win hockey games for them. And good for Zadorov, because more people should do it. When are we going to get back to the hard-nosed, in-your-face coaching where you don't have to make the person feel good? When you feel good is when you put an honest effort into the game and you give an honest effort to the system. Well, when is that going to be the? Right. I think the calling card and the rep and the coaches, if they don't bring that juice, can yell at them and not be worried that they're going to go to the management and say, I don't like him, I don't want to play for him, like the Calgary guys did with Sutter.
What I was just going to say, they ran Sutter out of town because he was too hard on them and they didn't like him, and their postseason meetings and so on. And that's why, they let him go. Well, now you've got Ryan Huskin there as a good young coach. And so you guys better step up to the plate and let your talk and do the walking, or whatever that expression is, because now it's time to step up and pay the price. And
accountability, man. Accountability.
Nazem Kadri, 7 games played, 1 assist. Are you kidding me? That's embarrassing.
It is. And you know what? If anything, he should do, Kadri should do what Alex Tuck did after last night's game. Because Alex Tuck had a great game in Ottawa. He had a terrible game the night before at home. He had a great game. He scored a beautiful goal, made a beautiful play, and he sat in front of the media and kind of apologized to his fans that he hasn't been playing well.
Yeah.
Now,
I love Tuck. I think he's a tremendous player. Brady Tkachuk, as you and I, we both love him. We know how he plays, and I like that. Brady was going to the bench and he wasn't looking, and Tuck kind of put his shoulder, and he knew what he was doing. And he knocked him on his ass, and Brady got up, and Tuck goes, "Okay, let's go." And they gave him an instigator. They gave Brady an instigator, which in the last 5 minutes of the game means he would be suspended and not be able to play his next game. And I tweeted out right away. I go, "That's not an instigator penalty." I go, "If they suspend him, then that's just not right." And they rescinded it today, and he's not going to serve the 1 game suspension.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But yeah, to your point, I love that we need more guys like Tuck. I loved him. I loved it.
Well, we need more guys in this league to have tougher, thicker skin and not be so offended when somebody yells, screams, critiques, or calls them out by their play. Because there's a lot of guys in the league right now. We're a lot of guys in the league that their play could be critiqued in a big way. You just said Kadri. I would like to see and ask, since it's all Connor Bedard with the National Hockey League and all the media, I think it's kind of slowing down a little bit right now for good reason. But in the first 6 or 7 games, a Connor Bedard grade from you would be?
I'd give him a B plus. I'd give him a B plus.
A B plus. You know what I would do for B plus when I was in school? I'd kill for a B plus. Please tell me. And like I said, I'm not being overly hard on Connor Bedard, but then again, I can be overly hard on Connor Bedard because the media and the NHL have thrown him in my face like crazy, comparing him to Gretzky and making him the top 10 players in the league and making him the next great one. But you can't go 3 games and 2 out of the 3 games go pointless and shotless and have a terrible face-off percentage. So to me, I think he's struggling. I think he scored a goal last night, but they took it away because of an offsides call, which we'll talk about in a second. But I haven't seen anything from Connor Bedard that would even put him in an A or a B grade. So
I think we need to, and you and I have talked about this. I think that he's played 7 games. He's got 2 goals, 2 assists. Listen, JR, Corey Perry is the leading scorer for the Chicago Blackhawks with 5 points. Okay, this isn't a team that scores a lot right now. So Connor Bedard's in second place with most points in the team. That kind of tells you how offensive that team is. So, I said it on our first show. He's playing with Ryan Donato and Taylor Hall. It's going to take him a while. It's the NHL. It's not junior hockey.
I get it. Of course, it's going to take him. Of course, it's going to take him a while. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, soaking wet, and I just don't see him that strong. He's going to have to grow into the superstardom that the league is putting him on right now. He's going to have to. He looks like a freshman in high school out there compared to some of these guys. These guys are bigger, they're stronger, they're throwing him around. Yes, he can skate. Yes, he can shoot. I think he's trying to figure out the speed. I think his brain is trying to catch up.
Yep.
But again, this is why I told the media and the NHL, leave the kid alone. Let him find his way, because right now he's got to be pressing like crazy right now, especially with 2 of the last 3 games with zeros all the way across the board.
I think a good analogy or a good comparison is comparing him to a young Jack Hughes. When Jack came in the league, Jack was really slight. He was highly touted. And now in his 4th or 5th season, he's got 14 points in 5 games. I'm watching Jack Hughes every night.
Sick.
It is amazing, amazing. So I know what you're saying, and it's really not Connor's fault. Like you said, it's the media, and they hyped him up so much that we expected. We saw reports this year that, he's going to get 80 points, 90 points. If he gets 60 points, I'd say that's a really good year. Too much put on him for a kid that's 18 years old, and it's not his fault.
Yeah, I love that comparison with Jack Hughes, because Jack Hughes was the number 1, and they didn't tout him the way that they're touting Bedard. Maybe because Jack Hughes is American and they're not going to tout him like that. But it took Jack a couple years to find his pace, to find his comfort zone. Now he's ripping the league up, and he's like literally ripping the league up and showing why he was the number 1 pick. I think Connor Bedard will do the same thing.
Yep.
And I think the media is finally starting to see it and is starting to take a foot off of the Bedard, the Bedard promo, promo mode. So let's keep our fingers that Connor gets a little bit more luck, puts the puck in the net, and Chicago gets back winning. But my hat's off to Jack Hughes. I mean, just an amazing start for the Devils.
Well, and a good pickup by Tommy Fitzgerald, picking up Tyler Toffoli too in the offseason to add to that already potent lineup. But if we can just touch on that Connor Bedard goal last night that was taken back. This is what I don't like about video review for offside. I like video review for match penalties. Did he get him in the head or did he get him in the shoulder? Because that's a 5-minute penalty. We want to get that right. We want to get goalie interference right. We want to make sure the puck's across the line. But that offside was less than it looked like it looked like it honestly could go either way. And he scores, the building's rocking. Connor Bedard, it's on ESPN, boom, everything's all, and then all of a sudden, boom, let's suck the team out of the building. And over a play that is less than a half an inch offside, that's not why we brought in video review for offsides. I don't have a solution, but one idea I heard somebody, maybe it was ESPN last night, because it was 30 seconds later, they scored. They were cycling, change of possession, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we say as soon as the other team gains possession, then you don't challenge it again. You can't challenge it. So the other team gains possession. There's a turnover. Chicago gets it back. Boom, they score. I don't know what the answer is, but I don't like when we suck, especially in a playoff game, when we suck the end of a building.
And I think what you said is one of the key elements and why people don't like the offsides rule and the offsides replay, because it stops the action. It's usually the longest look to get the call properly. And I think the league and the teams and the game needs an element of human error in it. And part of that human error is seeing whether the puck goes in before the skate. And you're right, that play went on for 20 or 30 seconds before that puck went in the net. There's so many things that could happen that would have altered that goal that didn't happen. I don't like the rule. I think they should take the offsides rule out in terms of the video replay and let the things that really affect the game, like the puck going over the net, like you said, like the goaltender interference, the hit to the head that will have a 5-minute major, which can affect the game in a big way. So great point by you on that offside rule. I absolutely hate it.
Do you know how many goals were scored when you played that were offside and nobody talked about it the next day?
Human error, tons. And keep the game going for the fans. Don't make it 3 hours. I'm gonna go to our first guest. We're gonna go to Chandler. Chandler is in good old Minnesota. I think he's still in Minnesota. Friend of mine and a guy that just loves the game of hockey, and I'm sure he's gonna have a couple good takes. See if we can get him up there. I wonder if he's a fan of the Minnesota Wild, because there he is. What's up, Chandler?
How we're doing, boys? Thanks for having me on, JR.
So Tim, can you guess what Chandler's first love of sport is?
He's got the British Open, the Ryder Cup. I love it. I love it.
So Chandler, good to see you, my friend. Love that you jumped on the show. Welcome to nofilter.net and Snipes and Stripes. And I know you have a couple takes. Give me what you got. What's up?
Well, guys, thanks for having me on. I think two quick kudos for you guys and getting your podcast started. I think one, it's very unique to have a referee perspective on podcasts. It's been long overdue. So Tim, great to have you on these. I think what you guys are actually doing right now, letting a slacker like me come on your show, I think you're actually ahead of the curve a little bit as far as fan interaction and getting fan perspective involved in these podcasts. So I'll try to offer mine. JR, you know why I'm jumping on. And you guys just touched on it. And I think what you guys talked about was right in line with how I see it. I do want to talk a little bit more about the offsides challenge. Tim, I sense your frustration. Allow me just to run through some points, and I want to turn it back over to you guys. But when I was going back into why did this come into the league? I don't know if you guys can remember. There's a pretty egregious goal back in 2013. Matt Duchene scored a goal. He's about 6 feet offsides. Puck came in late. The goal stood, and everyone's going, how can we have this in the game? We have to put replay on this so we never have another goal like this. Look, linesman got screened, complete whiff. It happened. But what Tim was just kind of saying is do you know how many offsides there were in JR's era that we just never paid attention to, but it was close enough. So let me run a little longer here. 2016 Stanley Cup Finals, I remember texting JR about this. We should have known back then that this thing was broken. First game of the Stanley Cup Finals in Pittsburgh, first goal of the finals. Puck goes in the zone last night like the Bedard goal. It's in there for 30 seconds. Letang has it twice, coughs it up a second time, goes to PK at the point, and he buries it. Now, this was actually back when coaches could just challenge whenever they felt like it. There was no possibility of a 2-minute penalty. So, yeah, let's try to get one off the board, right? So Ryan Johansson's skate was off the ice as he was straddling the blue line as the puck went across. And they took the first goal of the Stanley Cup Finals off the board. So they can sense it's broken a little bit. So they try to protect the rule by then having teams get penalized for 2 minutes if you get the challenge wrong. So where do we stand today? Where we are today is every team has a video review person that every time a goal is scored, they are looking for a bailout. And they're running to their iPads going, oh, can we get one off the board? Last night in Chicago, AnthonyCio is 2 inches offsides. And what Peelsy just said is we suck the air out of a building on a Bedard goal because of 2 inches. So my question here is is 2 inches offsides a big enough advantage to take a goal off the board? I'm going to run through my points of concern and turn it back over to you guys, right? JR, that's about the equivalent of saying if JR teed off 2 yards in front of the tee box in a par 5, that's what you do.
That'd be a par 4. That's a good equivalent, though, Chandler, if you think about it.
The other thing here is that I think we have this perception that if we have replay, we'll always get it right. Last week, the TNT game in Detroit, Andrew Kopp scored a goal late in the game. Kenny Albert's calling the game, and we all watched it. We're like, yeah, that one's actually about a foot offsides. That one's coming back, and it stood. So we like to believe that if we have replay, we'll always get it right, and it'll always be perfect. And it won't, right?
Yeah, you know what the problem is, Chandler, is I think all sports need an element of human error. We have it in the NBA. How many times do we see someone get hit in the face or a foul and the referees don't call it? How many times do we see in football what should be a flag and they don't call it? And the problem is we have a fast-paced game, and the fans come and they don't want to stay there and sit there and wait for the referees to go to the penalty box, look it over and over again, stop the adrenaline, especially like you just said and what Tim said earlier. You have Connor Bedard scores in his own building, right, against the Boston Bruins, who have a great following, and it takes all the air out of that arena. It takes the air out of Bedard. I don't like it. Just great points by the history of it, Chandler. I've been curious to see what you think, Tim. But
well, Chandler, it's funny you bring that play up with Matt Duchene, because when you see the replay, Matt Duchene actually looks back at the linesman almost to say, really, you're not blowing this down. So actually, Derek Amell, who was the linesman in that game, and I was talking to him this morning, he's one of my best friends. He worked 8 Stanley Cup, maybe 10 Stanley Cup finals. He worked a gold medal game in Russia. Okay, but what happened is he thought the Nashville player whacked the stick of the Colorado player and negated the offside. Long story. This guy is an incredible linesman, and all of a sudden, because one call is missed in a regular season game, we now need video review. I think it was the biggest overreaction by the league in a long time.
Well, they'll get it right one of these times. I don't think it would hurt the game. I don't think the fans would be mad if they took that offsides replay away. I think it would speed up the game, and we might have more goals, to tell you the truth. But Chandler, I love you, buddy. I'm so happy you joined us. I'm glad that you like our fan interaction right here on nofilter.net. Nobody else does it better. And I better see you either next week or on the golf course, whichever soon. It doesn't matter.
You got it. Can I add one more point on this topic?
Yes, one more. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think like Peeler, both you guys were debating, like, well, should we edit? Should we say like, well, if the goal happened in the first 10 seconds, then you can review it. Or if the defending team got possession, then you can't review it. Again, I think we're trying to protect a rule that should just come back out of the game. I know we can do this, and let me just throw this part in there. I know we can walk away from the ledge because golf did it. JR, I know you're a big golfer, and Tim, I don't know if you are or not.
Yep.
But golf went through this from about 2011 to 2016. We actually had fans calling tournaments because they would see things on TV. Yep. Golf, you got into like HD television. We would see a ball move by a dimple, and all of a sudden the foam boards would light up. We'd have fans calling penalties on the players. It got to a point in the U.S. Open 2016 at Oakmont, the final round, where Dustin Johnson wasn't sure if he was going to be penalized 2 strokes or not, as he's trying to protect a 3-stroke lead. Golf in 2017 got to the point where they go, you know what? No more fans calling in, and we're not going to use HD television to call penalties on players. If we can't see it with the naked eye and the player doesn't know that it happened, it didn't happen. So here we are in hockey going, how fast the game moves, and we're trying to slow it down and be like, Anthony Lucia's skate is 2 inches off sides. It's close enough. It's not an advantage. Just take it out. If we don't catch that Matthew Shane goal, again, like we made a rule because of one miss.
I think the key word that you just used there, Chandler, and I love all your points. I think the key word that you used was advantage. That 2 inches, I think it was less than 2 inches, had no bearing on the play.
Yeah, it didn't. And you're never going to get it right, whether the other team touches a puck and then you can't review it. I mean, that's probably the best situation that you can possibly have besides just taking it out. And I'll just finish this last thing with it. You know what? The NHL wants more scoring. If they want more scoring, don't use a replay to take a goal away. So that's it, Chandler. You're the best, buddy. I'll chat with you again later. Thanks for being on. What great points. I love that about Chandler. I love that about all of our listeners. They're so up on hockey. You got Luch over here saying 3 goals called back in the Rangers Columbus game. So another great thing.
Knowledgeable hockey fans.
But here we got to keep up with the refs, because the refs seem to be the topic of choice right now. Did you see the Seattle-Detroit game? Did you see the kid throw his stick?
I did. Jaden Schwartz, former Blues player, playing for Seattle now. Good player. Pulled a desperate move. He threw his stick, and it doesn't happen very often. And there's no question.
But bring the context. I mean, it's late in the game. And Detroit has a cross-ice pass to a wide-open one-timer for a shot and a possible goal, and Schwartz is out of position. So in desperation, he throws his stick into the passing lane and actually gets lucky and hits the puck and breaks it up.
Yeah. At that point, it was 2-1 Seattle. Detroit player had a great opportunity to score on a one-timer. The officials don't call it. Seattle gains control of the puck. A few seconds later.
By the way, we know you guys are blind. You guys are like the 3 blind mice, but this one's like the 4 blind mice.
4.
Now it's the 4. Well, it used to be 3, but now it's the 4 blind mice. You can't tell me than in a hockey game with 4 stripes on the ice, and not one of them sees or calls Braden Shorts that throws his stick, and he threw it like 10 feet away from him.
Yeah. Well, let me finish. So
ridiculous.
To add insult to injury, Seattle then gets control of the puck, goes up the ice, and scores.
No way.
And Little Caesars the arena is just going crazy. The chanting "Ref, you suck." Mickey Redmond, I think, is about ready to fall off his chair. I'm listening to the broadcast, and it's not just the 2 referees on that play. I tweeted out the rule last night. The linesman can also, as soon as Seattle gains possession, you let the play continue. As soon as Seattle gains possession, the linesman could blow the whistle down, go over to the ref, say Jaden Short threw the stick. Detroit is now awarded a penalty shot, and that's what the rule is. It's a penalty shot. It was a big miss by the officials in a 2-1 game that then became 3-1. Detroit came back, tied it up, got a point out of it. But I can tell you right now, Derek Lalonde and Steve Yzerman, I'm sure Steve was texting with Coley going, how did this happen? How did we not get a penalty shot here? To your point, how did 4 officials miss this call?
It's again, we got to go back to human error, but that's ridiculous human error. I mean,
you know what? It also happens when you have maybe inexperienced referees. You've got one guy, it's his second year in the league. Another guy's got 400 games in the NHL.
But are they afraid? Are they afraid because they feel that being linesmen, that they don't want to step on the referee's toes by making a call? Are they nervous of that? Because
I can tell you right now, one of the linesmen, Devin Berg, has worked 3rd round. He's a very good playoff linesman. The other linesman, Tyson Baker, who's never worked playoffs, if he hadn't made that call, he might get playoffs this year. Like when you're an official, you are drooling if you get an opportunity to make a call that's so unique that doesn't happen very often in the game. If a young official steps up and makes that call, his boss, being Stephen Walkham, is like, I can count on this kid. I'm putting him in the playoffs. So
now let me ask you another question. Because Steve Yzerman is probably going to call Colin Campbell and complain, will the league contact the referees and say what happened? Why didn't you call this? Would they get fined for not making the call secretly behind the scenes? To me, because they should. I mean, the referees should have been fined last night for missing that call.
You can't. I don't think fined for missing calls, JR, because sometimes
the players get fined for misusing the rules.
No, they don't.
They don't. Hitting in the head, fine.
What do you mean What do you mean? They don't. Players don't get fined if they miss a wide open net.
No, but they get fined for doing something stupid. Guess what?
Well,
the referees did something stupid. They missed an obvious call.
They didn't do something stupid. It wasn't stupid. They just missed the call. They froze, and for whatever reason, they didn't.
But that's their job. That's their job, Tim. That's their job, is to make those calls. And there's 4 of them.
Listen, I agree that the call should have been made, but I was fined once in my career for I assessed the wrong rule to a certain play. Our guys will get fined if they screw up a rule. But in a case where they miss a call, they're not.
Yeah, but that's the difference. Nobody in the rink realizes that you guys messed up a call or a rule. So you're getting fined because of what happens within the confines of the offices.
So
okay, how could the refs not be fined for having something that is so blatantly obvious and did have an effect on the game? That's ridiculous to me. How I think missing the call with the stick is so much more egregious than missing the definition of a call.
Well, we can debate that, but do you think would it make you feel better if knowing that a referee got fined, and would that make him a better referee?
Yes.
You think
it's called accountability.
Well, no, I agree with accountability. Accountability for our referees is when they don't get picked to do the playoffs because they did screw up throughout the year. Accountability is we probably had 15 guys fired over the last 10, 15 years. Guys get let go because of poor performance. I don't think you can start fining guys because they miss a call.
It's accountability. And guess what? I think and they will learn by having the same reason why players get fined. And by the way, players miss the playoffs too when they don't do their job properly. And it's unfortunate, but that's I guess that's always going to be a debate. I think I would love to see refs fined, because as players, we never saw the refs get any accountability or hear what they were told by the National Hockey League when they were brutal.
They keep it very tight. They keep it very tight. It's that's a debate we can have for another time on
most protected group of athletes on the planet, NHL referees. Let's talk about not protected people right now. And these are some of the teams that we thought were going to be really good that are just absolutely making a mockery of their season already. The Edmonton Oilers. And I got to admit, coming into the season, I thought they were going to be good. Seeing how they did in the playoffs last year, how close they got, Connor McDavid, Draisaitl again, another year together. I thought they had learned their lesson of secondary scoring. Well, holy cow, this team cannot put it together. They lose again last night.
You know, I was watching, I watched some games, but I was primarily watching the ESPN Red Zone, if you want to call it the NHL Frenzy, because I wanted to see plays throughout all the games. But I was reading this morning, Edmonton had 3 too many men on the ice penalties last night. How do you have 3 too many men on the ice penalties in one game? I've never heard of that.
It goes back again to what we were talking about in the beginning of the show with the Buffalo Sabres not being mentally in the game.
I would agree.
Being totally out of the game. And I'd even say that for the Detroit Red Wings last night, because here they are. They're feeling a little cocky about their start and how good they're playing, and how good their power play is. And they're playing at home, and they have Seattle coming in, which I still consider an expansion team. And it was 3-1 after the first period. Detroit started late. They weren't prepared. And that's Edmonton Oilers. Besides McDavid and Draisaitl, this entire team does not prepare for the games. They don't do anything to help the team win. Darnell Nurse has been terrible this year. How much does he make?
Oh my goodness. He should wear a mask when he goes to the rink every day. He's getting paid, I think it's 10 or 11 million bucks a year. I don't understand why Kenny, you and I both have so much respect for Kenny Holland, but I don't know how it must have been Thanksgiving or something or Christmas, because I don't know how he got that. And then this Evan Bouchard is just atrocious on the back end. He was on, I think, for 3 of the 4 goals last night. He's a -8 for the season. The only part of his game is his slap shot from the point on the power play. Yeah. Defensively, they're not that good. They're not. You and I have talked about it. They're not deep enough in the 3rd and 4th lines. I get a kick out of all these experts in Canada that were predicting that Edmonton was going to win the cup, and they're 1-5-1. They could be 1-8, 1-9-1 by the time Connor McDavid comes back, and that's a big hole.
It's not good. They're not in good situation. And by the way, you have Nugent Hopkins must be really satisfied with the season he had last year, because he's just been a no-show. I mean, he's one of those guys that has to be the secondary scoring on this team, and he had a great season last year, so now he can sit back and just have his whatever year this year and make his money. It drives me crazy, man.
He's too soft for me. I remember a game in San Jose once. He came up to me. He's like, "Timmy, they're cross-checking me. They're cross-checking me." I go, "Yeah, it's the NHL. It's a rough sport. Like, if you want to go play ringette or something, maybe give that a shot. But it's the NHL. It's rough out here." I don't. He is what he is.
Again, it's the complacency, right? Even Chandler's like you can't buy heart and passion. You can't buy it, but at some point, you have to find it in you to have the heart and passion for your own well-being, for your own pride in front of the fans that you're playing against, because you're going to get beat up by the fans. You're going to get called out by the media, And where is the anger? Where's the passion? And Edmonton Oilers right now, they actually started that game pretty well and then just folded. They just gave up.
Well, and you mentioned for the fans, times are tough now in our world as far as the economy's going. We see the attendance in Winnipeg. Toronto will always be Toronto because of the corporate sales that they have. But places like Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary, these are people that are hardworking people that save their money up so that they can go and take their son or daughter to a game. And then when they get that kind of production or whatever you want to call it, that's disappointing. And you know what? They've been beating up the Edmonton goaltenders this year, Stuart Skinner and Jack Campbell. Jack Campbell last night played outstanding. There could have been 3 or 4 more goals.
It's amazing that you say that he gave up 6 or 7 goals and he said he played amazing.
That's how bad the defense is.
That really tells you how bad the Edmonton Oilers are right now, and they are in disarray, and it doesn't get better because Connor McDavid is out for a couple weeks. We move to the other side of the league in Washington. Here's a team that is just, I think, totally, I don't want to say too old, but this team is so bad. I watched the game last night, the Washington Capitals, and Toronto just manhandled them. The only thing the Washington Capitals were doing last night was trying to set up Ovi to score a goal. Yeah. And I think this team this year, and I was on my other podcast after the whistle with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet this morning, and Andrew Peters said something really, really good, which was I took to heart, and I was like, wow, that's an amazing comment. The Washington Capitals year is not about making the playoffs. It's about getting Ovi goals to catch Gretz. It seems like that's their only motive on the year because they're not playing to win hockey games. They were awful last night.
No, you know what? You won't say that they're too old, but I'll say they're too old. They're the second oldest team in the league. Pittsburgh's first at 31 years old, and Washington second at 29.6 at 30 years old. Pittsburgh's at 31. Washington's basically at 30. So Tom Wilson, who I loved how Tom Wilson, I don't necessarily agree with some of his blindside hits, but if you were a fan, you'd want him on your team. He looks like he's had some pretty bad injuries over the past few years. I don't know if he can get his game back to what it was. Backstrom.
Well, you can say the same. You can say the same for Backstrom. He looks like he's playing to not get hurt.
Right.
He's playing to not get hurt and get over the puck. Kuznetsov looks like he wants to be in a spa, not on the ice. I mean, this guy just has such a lack of passion and care right now. He's trying to play the game on only talent. He doesn't have any drive. He doesn't have any just desire to break through, to beat somebody with physicality, to outwork somebody. And if he doesn't win with just his talent, you know what? He just goes to the bench.
And I love TJ Oshie. I've known him for years. He's a tremendous person. He wasn't fast 5 years ago. Now the game's even faster. He's still a good player, but they just don't have that speed.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what you get with Osh? You get passion.
Heart. Oh, yeah.
You get passion. You get heart. You see the kid work. Now, TJ is not a good skater, okay? It's one of his worst attributes is he's not a fast skater. He's not a graceful skater. But he does so many intangibles, and he's super smart. That he gets away with it. He's like Joe Pavelski, right? He goes to the right places to score goals. He sacrifices his body. He'll take hits, and he puts in an honest effort. You're going to be okay with a player like that in your team. You're not going to give that guy crap because you can see that he wants it. You can see the passion. You don't see that with Kuznetsov at all.
No. Unfortunately, a lot of the Russian players, they can't wait for the World Championship and go back to their home country. And I love Oshie, and to your point, he's got the passion. He's smart, but they're just old. They're getting old, buddy. They don't have the team that they had.
Yeah, I think you're right. Ovechkin had 14 shots last night. He finally scored a goal.
It's no coincidence that two of the top that were the top teams 5 years ago, Pittsburgh and Washington, are the two oldest teams in the league, and they're both struggling. It's a young man's team now, buddy. It's a young man.
At some point, you got to suck it up and you got to retool. And I think both those teams are at that point right now. And I feel bad. I feel bad for Ovechkin. I want to see him score goals. I don't want to see this team get just diverted to just setting Ovi up to score goals. I feel bad for Sidney Crosby and for Malkin. I mean, they haven't started off the way we all expected, but I still think Pittsburgh does better than Washington today. This year, Washington might get the first pick next year, but you know who's not going to get the first pick? And they're making me look like a fool right now because you and I have a bet that we made the beginning of our show in the beginning of the season, and I was convinced that the Boston Bruins were going to be awful this year. They lost Patrice Bergeron, they lost Krejci, they lost Hall, they lost Foligno, they lost Clifton, they lost a boatload of quality players. I mean, boatload. And what are they? They're 6-0. And they're on a West Coast swing, and they're just making the league look easy again, like they did last year.
It's incredible. You know, you think of the history of the Boston Bruins. This is the first time in the history of the Boston Bruins, even the record-breaking year that they had last year, the first time that they've started 6-0. Listen, when we made that bet, I didn't think they would start 6-0.
Yeah, Chandler reminded me they lost Bertuzzi too. I mean, that's amazing.
Right. But you know what I think is, and sometimes coaches often take a lot of crap when the team isn't doing well, and it's the first person to go is the coach. But quite often the coach doesn't get a lot of recognition either. Jimmy Montgomery is a very, very, very smart hockey man. I got to know Jimmy when he retired from the NHL. He was living here in St. Louis. Back in our single days, we would go out a little bit and have some fun. He played for the University of Maine, won a national championship there, went on to play a little bit in the NHL, went on to the University of Denver, won national championships. And Jimmy Montgomery, from everything that people I've talked to and so on, they say he's one of the smartest hockey guys around, and players love playing for them. Like they love.
I think that's the key, right? Is he gets the players that nobody's watching or nobody's expecting to do great things to the secondary players. We thought that the Boston, again, behind Pasta, behind Marchand, that there was going to be no secondary scoring. Well, they're getting secondary scoring. They're getting 4 lines of play. Their defense is great. Their goaltending with Ullmark and Swayman are fantastic. Everybody's doing their job again, and that comes from leadership and coaching.
100%.
Simple.
And I, we know how strong their defense is. What you just talked about, Swayman and Ullmark. Ullmark's .962 save percentage. Swayman's .957. Unbelievable numbers.
Yep.
And then they've got this young kid, Matthew, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right, Potra. 6 games played, 3 goals, 1 assist. This kid is fast. It's his first year of junior hockey. He was a 2nd-round draft pick.
It's great.
It's great. It's awesome.
But see, this is what happens. The coach comes into the training camp, and I've been in this situation before, and you're a new kid in that locker room, and you're wondering whether you're going to make the team. You're wondering if you're going to have a spot. And a coach comes in and says, hey, guys, there are spots open on this team that you can actually grab one of these spots and become an NHL player. And it takes all these young kids that are in that locker room and it lifts them up. And it gives them an opportunity to say, hey, I got a chance. I'm going to grab the bull by the horns and I can actually do this. And you know what that does? It builds so much confidence in a young player. And these guys are going out and taking advantage of their opportunity. I love it.
Did you see the fight between Trent Frederick and who was the big kid from LA the other night, JR? Did you happen to see that fight?
I missed it.
Big kid. And Frederick goes, you want me? Let's go. And they've got what we talked about earlier. They've got character on that team. They've got guys with passion. I saw Marchand messing around with Bedard again last night. He was pinning him up against the boards, just being a little.
You gotta love it.
And And they've got a good hockey team. Listen, they won playoff games last year without Bergeron in the lineup. They are a good hockey team.
Boston Bruins, Colorado Avalanche. We put the Dallas Stars in there. Vegas Golden Knights. These guys are the powerhouses right now of the league. We're gonna bring one more guest on. Let's bring Luch on before we have to end up. We got about 10 minutes left. Always love to bring in our guests. I have to say sorry to John, I didn't get to you, but Luch, what's going on, pal? You got the game on behind you there, the Blackhawks shirt. You're looking good with the headphones on. What do you got for us, pal? Welcome to the show.
I want to see what you guys think of the New York Rangers, how they're set up for this year.
Very funny that you brought up the New York Rangers, because we actually were talking about the New York Rangers pre-show. So, Tim, why don't you take that question away early?
Well, and I don't know where I heard it today, but it was a good comparison. Somebody said it's like when you open up a bottle of soda and it really doesn't have that fizz anymore. It's kind of stale. That's kind of what I think about the Rangers. They don't do anything for me this year. I don't see, last year, they blamed it on Gallant, and I love Gerard Gallant. I think he's a great coach, and they bring in Laviolette, and I don't see any difference with that team. I just don't see maybe it's because it's the first, few weeks of the season, JR. We're talking about the passion. I just don't see any passion with them. I don't know what their identity is. I really don't. They've got tremendous goaltending and a couple good defensemen and obviously some forwards, but I don't know what their identity is, JR.
Well, Tim, let me correct you a little bit. When you open up a can of soda, it's flat. It's not stale. It's the bread that becomes stale. Wow. And I do think that you are right on that, because the Rangers do look stale to me. They do look flat. Just seems that they're trying to find their identity right now, which is kind of crazy, because I thought last year going into the playoffs that they were one of my favorite teams to win the Stanley Cup. Their goaltending is sick. Panarin is obviously awesome. Kreider had an amazing year last year. But I haven't seen anybody on the Rangers step up and take the bull by the horns and grab that team and say, listen, we're not going to be overshadowed by the New Jersey Devils, by the way, because everybody's talking about the Devils and not talking about the Rangers. And it's always Ranger country. You're there, right? Yep. As a Ranger fan, you got to be just irate that everybody's talking about the Devils and that Jack Hughes is leading the league in points, and he's the star of New York, New Jersey, and it's not in the blue shirt.
Right. I'm hoping that we get some little bit of action out of Lafreniere this year too. Hopefully he steps up.
To give him a little bit of credit, he has scored a couple goals this year. He looks a little bit better, but until Lafreniere stops being afraid of his own shadow in the corners and is afraid of getting hit and realize he's playing a big man sport, a big boy sport, and he starts having a little bite and grit in his game, this guy could be really, really good. But as soon as he gets in that corner and he sees his shadow, he pulls up and looks around, and next thing you know, someone's either knocking him against the glass or the puck's gone and he's out of it. But he has shown a little bit more flashes of what he can do early. So I'm hoping good things for him.
I agree. Yep.
But Luch, it's great having you on, buddy. Listen, I love having you. Love having the hockey behind you, the Blackhawks shirt, and keep rooting for those Rangers. Maybe they'll wake up a little bit.
Shirt there too.
Yeah, don't forget about the ref shirt there.
He's got the ref shirt. He's there. He's repping. But listen, how did you like? We got a couple minutes here. How did you like the frozen? What do they call it? The frozen fury or
Frenzy.
Frozen frenzy.
I loved it, buddy. I really did. I got to give Kevin Weeks and John Buccigross a shout out. They did a tremendous job. I didn't know how it would go. It's their first time doing it. And has ESPN lived up to the expectations like TNT? Probably not. But I thought they did a tremendous job last night. And I think we should do more of it. It doesn't have to be every team playing every night. We can do it when there's 8 or 10 games, 11 games in a night.
Yeah, I agree. I like the fact when they jump around, you see the things that are happening in the games, because unfortunately, for a lot of us, it's either ESPN or TNT, and we don't get to see a lot of other games. We want to see what's happening, want to see great plays, want to see teams on power plays when they pull the goaltender. I like that aspect, but I really enjoyed especially being out here in California, games starting at 3:00 and getting to watch hockey all the way until I fall asleep at 11:00 here with late games out in California. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was a great addition so far. I hope they do it a number of times. There were people, I was listening to people were having, frozen frenzy parties at their house. I mean, this is what we want with hockey and hockey on television.
And Pat McAfee did a great clip today on the Pat McAfee show, and his new segment this year is Hockey is Awesome. And he did a clip of a referee got in the way of a player in the corner.
I saw that, yeah.
And the ref goes, "Hey, I owe you a beer." McAfee loved that. He goes, "We never see that in any other sport." He goes, "I love that."
Yeah.
And you saw all the other clips, and yeah, that's good for our game, exposing our game like that on national television. I think we should. Well, I'm sure they're going to do it, but it was a great idea. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
So I want to thank everybody for watching the show. Again, I want to thank our sponsors, which is Whiskey in the Wild and, of course, betonline.com. Speaking of betonline.com, which is a great site if you're a gambler like myself. Let's pick really quick to end the show. Tomorrow, Thursday, lots of games going on. I'm going to make a pretty good prediction tomorrow, and I think for your money, watch for Detroit to bounce back at home tomorrow on Thursday for probably one of my best picks for money back, being a dog at home. Who do you like tomorrow?
You know what, buddy? Before I get into my pick, I've enjoyed watching that Detroit team this year. Steve Yzerman's plan, it seems like it's maybe a year or two ahead of schedule. That is a fun hockey team to watch right now.
Fun hockey team. And I think they bounce back against Winnipeg tomorrow for sure.
My game, I'm a big Dallas Stars fan as far as what I think their potential is this year. They've got a tough game tomorrow night at home to Toronto and Austin Matthews. I think Dallas takes them down at home. It's only minus 125 for Dallas, or minus 110. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. That's still good money. You don't have to put up too much to win some money. So everybody go to betonline.com, put in your bets. We have been pretty hot here on Snipes and Stripes on nofilter.net. Appreciate everybody to be here. Remember, next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific. We love having our fans come in and join in. And by the way, great referee takes tonight, Tim. You did a great job. Way to go.
Great job, buddy. As always, I love you, man.
All right. Take care, guys. See you next week. Thanks for joining.